Yo, what's up? Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. Spirituality and the phases of life. I chose that because obviously I didn't want to go straight into kind of just varsity. I want to know like your whole thought process behind it. So yeah, how did you grow up? Did you grow up in a religious family? What is a religious family and all sorts of stuff from the beginning?
So I grew up from in a religious family.
Hmm.
My father's side of the family was Christian,
Hmm.
and then my mother's side of the family believed in like the ancestral.
Okay.
So they did Amadus.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up with my dad. So I grew up going to church. I even got baptized in a Christian church, and I never stopped to think, and question what was going on, or who God is, or what it meant. I just went to church because that was the norm at home. On Sundays, we sing in the choir. It was just what we did.
Hmm.
Until then, I moved to varsity. Then I had to stop and think, why am I doing this?
Hmm. Okay. So, sorry. So you grew up in a church home. So your mom was also going to church together with your dad and yourself?
No, my mother passed on, so I lived.
Oh, flip. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah.
You grew up with just your dad.
Mm.
Okay.
And he's married to my stepmom now. And so I
Okay.
grew up with and a Christian.
And then any siblings?
Yes, I have siblings. I have seven siblings.
Okay. Are they what? They also went to church with you?
Yes.
So everyone is just went to church.
Yeah. The
Okay.
parents.
And then did then everyone go to church all the way till varsity, or like some people kind of dropped off?
I'm the oldest, so I'm the first one to like question it.
Ah, okay. So do they still go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're the only person that's not going.
I do go when I'm home.
Ah, okay. So this raises two questions that I've already encountered in the meantime. So how did you then, how did you balance the amaldozi and the spiritual?
I think back then I'm still a kid at home, and so I do they do. I don't question it. So when I'm
Mm-hmm.
home, I go to church. When I'm home, I go to church when I'm at my father's place, and when I'm at my mother's place, then I let them do whatever they need to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I join in and I don't question it.
Okay. All right. Do they question it? Do they question each other?
No,
Okay. All right. All right. Cool. So then, when you were growing up and going to church and kind of doing it as a daily thing every Sunday and stuff, were you very much like a type of person that was, look, keep quiet, go to church, come back, and then, kind of live your life? Or was it like a very strong type of, I go to church, everyone must come, and this is the way that the life should be, and everything like that?
yeah, I think I was more of we go to church on Sunday, we sing in the choir, we go on Wednesdays, then on Monday I go on with my life. I pray when I feel the need to pray, and that was that.
Okay. So then, why did you then pray? Why did you start doing things extra than more than the fact that you just went to church? Why didn't you just go to church and then come back and live life? Why did you have to like continue praying and things like that? Was that also pressure from family?
Yeah, because that's what we were taught at church and in the family. We prayed every day, every at 6 p.m. So
Hmm.
so growing up, it was just routine that we pray. If you know something, you talk to God. But I feel like as I grew and I played university and started, as I grew and I questioned a lot of things in my life, I had to
Hmm.
question my relationship with God.
Okay.
And that's when I found that it was never built and it was never strong enough for me to
Okay.
say I'm a Christian and I do believe in God.
Okay. So then, when was the turning point? Begunini, when you decided, by yeah, yabo kunzima, and I don't think bana is these fundisweyo is actually something bana and
I think it was in third year last year. That was last year. It started actually in second year, because when I came to varsity, and for the first year, I couldn't find my in Cape Town, until someone told me actually that there is a church nearby, and then I started going. I went, and every day when I came back, I didn't feel anything. I was numb. Nothing resonated with me. And then I kept going, thinking maybe it's gonna get better. I'm gonna reconnect again with God and my spirituality. And then I was like, maybe I'm in the wrong church. And then I started church hopping. And then I started going to different Christian churches just to find myself. And then last year, when I was in third year, I decided to stop going to church. And then at that time, I still hadn't told my parents about the whole journey that I was going on now. I only told them this year during lockdown. And then I stopped going to church because I just felt like I was not getting anything out of it. And so I did a lot of research trying to find what God is supposed to be, what spirituality is supposed to be about, listening to a lot of things. But it still didn't get me any closer to God or to my spirituality.
Okay. When you told your parents then that you just stopped going to church, was it like a big thing for you? And why was it that?
It was definitely a big thing because they are very religious people, and they're strong believers of Christianity and religious things. And so I remember it was this lockdown and I was at home for the whole 6 months. So I had to look at my parents the whole time, having told them I don't think I'm a Christian. And I could feel the tension in the house. And my dad was going on this long rant about religion, Christianity, spirituality. And at some point, it just became so much for me that I couldn't even be in the same room with him. And I felt like every time he preached during our prayers, he was just attacking me.
Yeah. Okay. And then, do you feel that then your relationship with your parents, especially your father, kind of deteriorated when you told them that?
Yes. At first, it was very difficult for him to process it, especially my dad, because I'm very close with him. But when I tried to talk him into it, and I reassured him that this could be a phase, and I feel like I did that just to make him feel better about it.
Yeah.
And I told him that he also probably went through the same phase because he grew up in a family that believed in ancestors, and he went the Christian route. So I was like, imagine me being in the same shoes as you were at that time, having a path to go. So I'm also have come to that road where I have to choose my own religious belief and find my own spirituality. So I think after I had that conversation with him, he then understood and was open to it. And he tried to help guide me.
How did he do that?
How did I do what?
How did he do that? How did he help to guide you?
No, he just reassured me and told me that it does take a lot and you should look into yourself and find out what really resonates with you. And he told me, he's a big religious person, so he told me that you cannot not believe in something. You have to believe in something so that it can protect you from evil spirits and all kinds of things.
Okay. How did you take that? How did you take the fact that you confided in your father that you really trusted, and he then kind of reassured you that you are not making a great decision, and you kind of should rethink about it instead of kind of understanding what you were going through and trying to, reason with you instead of trying to keep trying to, not force the issue, but to kind of persuade you to kind of come back. How did that make you feel?
I think I just felt that he didn't really understand what I was going through as much as I would wish he would. And and I think I would expect that from him as a parent and from his own experiences. So he wants to protect me from things that he has seen and that he has experienced in his life regarding spiritual things and religious things. So I was disappointed that he was not being open to me having to find my own path in my spiritual journey, but I also understood where he was coming from.
Okay. This story reminds me of the story that I had yesterday with Undando about coming out to your parents as being a lesbian or non-straight, and how difficult it is, and how your parents or your caregivers kind of look at you like, man, kind of, you're confused instead of kind of instead of separating their beliefs, and actually trying to look at you as a parent, it reminds me of that. But anyway, how would you have wanted him to then actually act? Like when you told him, like what would have been the best response for you in the situation that you're in?
I can't really think of the perfect response right now, because I think religion and spirituality are very complex things. Like I've said, I've been looking for answers and I still haven't found them to this day. I'm still on this long journey, which I'm now at the end. So I don't think there is a right response. But the fact that he was able to meet me halfway and understand that it is a phase that a point that everyone reaches in their life where they have to choose their own spiritual journey and their own religion. And so what I would have liked for him to be more open to non-Christian beliefs, and for him to understand that I am my own person, I am an individual, and I have to choose my own journey, and I cannot be Christian just because he is Christian.
Okay. Are you still, or have you found your religious purpose, or are you still kind of looking?
I'm still looking, I feel, but right now I really do not identify with any religion.
Okay. I hope this video then, and here's how you wanted him to actually kind of, listen to you, so that at least he can think about it.
I didn't get that, sorry.
I'm saying I hope that he hears this and then he understands how you actually feel about his reaction and how you would have liked for him to think about it. Yeah. So then, what was the biggest thing, do you think, that kind of changed your perception of how you were brought up?
I think coming to a space where a lot of people have different religious beliefs, having grown up in like a community where everyone is Christian, and now you come into a university, which is a space where there's all kinds of beliefs. You get exposed to all these religious beliefs that you never thought existed, like atheist, what is it? Misogynist, agnostic. Yes, that's the word. And it really forces you to question yourself and to look deep down into yourself for what you think you believe in. Is it really what you believe in? And so I think another thing that pushed me to question myself was me not going to church and now having to talk to God and having to have this relationship with him. And I felt like without the church, it didn't exist.
Okay. Okay. And then when you went back to church, you then couldn't find it anymore.
Yes. And then I couldn't find it anymore.
Okay. All right. And your siblings, do you think they feel the same way?
I do not know. They probably do. They're very young. I'm very young.
Okay, so they haven't moved out of home yet.
No, they're younger than me, so they're kids.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then how did it affect you and your relationship with your friends?
My friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have very open friends. I'm a very open person myself.
Mm-hmm.
So
You became open.
Sorry?
You became open.
As in?
As in you were obviously religious and you had a straightforward path, and then you got the second year and you started to question, and then you opened up. So it wasn't like you were always open, it was that you became open as you then got the varsity.
Yeah, I guess you can put it like that. But in
Okay.
general, I've always been an open person.
Okay.
I am very non-judgmental. Everyone
Okay.
knows me. And so I usually attract the same people, so who do not care where you come from, what you believe in, as long as you are good to me, good to you. I think that's the kind of friendships that I have. And so I never struggled with my friendships. I could have these conversations very openly with them.
Okay.
And even though most of them are Christians, because most people are in South Africa, and so of course a lot of them would guide me towards the Christian route, and would get very personal with having these conversations and have to root for their religions.
Okay. So do you find that then you actually got a bit more judgmental people in church than you did out of church? As in the sense that you felt as though if you let people in church know that you were kind of not really into this, instead of your friends, they would judge you more than your friends would.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
It was also just the guilt that I had on my own, that I can't tell them that actually I don't really believe in this.
Okay.
Or I'm questioning it.
Okay. So now getting two things. So with your dad, did he grow up in a religious home?
He grew up in a home where they believe in the ancestors.
Okay. So both his parents also grew up like that?
Yes.
So ancestors all the way, and then he chose religion?
Yes, then he chose Christianity.
Okay. So then how was it for him? So was he still kind of ancestral?
No, he's not anymore. Religion. He's a Christian now. He doesn't do any of the ancestral things.
So maybe you should ask him what he would have liked for his parents, or his response from his parents when he told them that he was Christian and he stopped believing in what he grew up in. Yeah, maybe that way you'll kind of understand that, oh, actually, maybe this is now happening with you to him.
Definitely. I actually never thought of that. Because I felt like I was just tired of talking about this with him, so I just let it go.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that he probably felt exactly the same way that you did, if not worse. And then when he kind of got out of it, he felt a bit stronger. And now that you're telling him the same thing, it's like, oh, wait, I'm so confused. But now he's put in the same shoes that he put his parents in. So it might be like a good something to bring up, just to let him know and let him think about it, and then maybe give you some closure as well. And then also, when you then started having these thoughts, of maybe I'm not, as Christian as I thought I was, what was it that you actually questioned about Christianity, where you were like, nah, this, not really?
I felt that I wasn't really sure what was the point of the whole religious thing, and it's not just about Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole religion. If there's even a God, if there's even hell and heaven, I just question all of it as in, is there really a God? Because at some point I even believed I was atheist. I was like, I don't think there is a God. And if there is a God, why is there so much evil in the world? Why do the bad guys prevail and the good people suffer? And it was
Yeah.
a lot of just didn't make sense. And a lot of that the Bible cannot explain about the universe that made
Yeah.
me question the truth of and the true what is it? The reality of that story.
Yeah. Okay. So again, I think it was kind of like there wasn't like a really like something bad that happened, or there wasn't something that kind of triggered it. It was just kind of like a whole look at things and think how things had happened, and you kind of felt that, man, this is not what I kind of, it doesn't really, these things don't really match, right?
Mm.
So do you think then, like, kind of what you studied as well and what you're studying, kind of your education wise, kind of influenced that as well?
I think to an extent, yes.
Okay.
'Cause studying medicine is studying science.
Yeah.
And as you know, science and religion usually just go
Yeah.
sideways.
Hmm.
And so, I just felt like at some point that things that we could not explain in science, we just blamed on religion. And I thought that was the only purpose of religion. If you can't explain it in science, then we just say, it's God, it's religion,
Yeah.
it's and so I think it definitely had an influence.
Mm. Okay. So then you kind of felt as though, like, look, you're looking at a particular cell, right? And you find that, oh, this cell makes babies, right? And you're like, but how does it make babies? And then science explains it, and then you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then tomorrow you find you're looking, there's a new technology, and you're like, oh, there's another cell, and then you're like, how does this cell make corona? And then they don't know. And then it's like, okay, well, if they don't know, then you find that people always kind of say, oh, maybe it's the Bible, maybe it's God, maybe it's
Mm.
whatever religion that you believe in. But then until the answer gets found, then it's like, okay, maybe it's
Science,
science.
into science now.
Okay, all right. But you don't feel then as though you're as like kind of science based, or more that you feel as though you're more of a rational type of person. That, like, if this happens, it's probably because there's something there before we can call it something that we don't really know.
Yes, I think I'm a rational person. And I feel like I struggled with accepting that there are things in this universe that we will not understand
Hmm.
and we will not know how they happen. And so, and that's
Yeah.
why I struggled with like balancing science and religion or spirituality.
Hmm.
And I think for me personally, spirituality is not about explaining how the universe works. It's
Hmm.
about feeding you one soul and making you feel whole as a person. It's about how it makes you and how it guides and grounds your life. It's not necessarily about explaining every single thing that happens in your life or in the universe. And I think I struggled with being comfortable with knowing that I may not know how the world was treated, what is the purpose of the universe, and all that. And so I always wanted answers because I just wanted to know why is this, that. And
Yeah.
so I've come to learn to accept that there are things that are out of my control and beyond my knowledge.
Mm. Okay. Do you think then that there is a difference between the words purpose, spirituality, and belief?
Yes, I think so.
Also, what are the differences?
I
That
think I think spirituality is doing things that resonate with your soul. And you can only find that by sitting with yourself and looking inside and find exactly what is it that your body and your soul want. And if you find that in a church, in a certain religion or whatever, then so be it. And if not, then so be it. And
Okay.
purpose, I feel as though purpose is guided by your spirituality, by you knowing yourself, but you can create your purpose. As in, you can sit with yourself and say, I feel as though I am, say, maybe a leader. So that is my purpose, leadership. And then you create the leader in you. And then, well, belief is the tricky one. So now, with belief, I think you can believe in science, you can believe in religion, and that is what you believe the world is, what you believe how the world operates. So I think belief is about that. So that's why I think it's different entities.
Okay. So you're saying belief is kind of a bit different to the first two in the sense that belief is something that you say that I kind of think this is the way it is. I kind of think that's what that is. It doesn't have to be anything pertaining to you per se, but it's something like I kind of believe that there is a chair there. I believe that there is a TV there, type of thing. It's not something that you are saying that this is you trying to understand yourself. It can be something else that you're trying to understand. Whereas purpose is more of like the drive or the fuel that gets you to become a certain way or gets you to then find the spirituality.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool, man. And then do you think then there's a difference with spirituality and Amahlus?
I think I'm more of a belief. And then most people usually their beliefs are tied with their spirituality.
Okay.
And so some people, for them, even their purpose can be tied with their religion. Some people who believe in ancestors can find their journeys, like for example, to be a sangom from their religion, from what they believe in. And so it guides their purpose and their spirituality in that sense. So I think it depends. It differs with different people and different entities, ethnicities. Yeah.
Okay. Why is it Abizulu or Abixhosa have ancestors, whereas different tribes do not? If ancestry is kind of something that is, someone kind of passes away and then they kind of, the belief is kind of pass away and then they come back and they guide us, right? Everyone else in every culture passes away, right? So why is it then kind of something that's pertaining to only a certain group of people that pass away? And also on top of that, why is it that only those people that pass away give us guidance? When they were alive, it's like, where were they then?
I really do not understand the ancestral belief, so because I don't identify with it and I didn't grow up around it, so I don't really know how it works, and I don't feel like I can speak on it because I do not understand it in that way.
All right. Okay, that's fine. All right, then, religious-wise, do you think that when you were were taught the Bible, right? We're kind of taught ways in which things go. When you were listening to all the stories that are kind of in the book, right? Did you take them literally?
Yes, to an extent.
Okay, so that doesn't really. Okay, so it's either you take it literally or you don't, because you can't really take something literal and then you say but not that part. Because I find, so this is what I find is that,
there
so
are
this is what
things
I
that
find.
we take literally, and there are things that we know are metaphors.
Okay, but why, okay, but then why? I think then again, this is what a lot of people that I know kind of get confused by. I don't want to get personal with it with me. Um, I think this is the thing where you kind of you're chilling and you're reading a situation, right? And in the situation that you're reading, things that resonate with you and make sense with you, you kind of say, no, that's the way that things are. And then things that don't make sense with you, you kind of say, but look, if this is the whole picture and I need to see the picture the way that I think I need to see it, I can't really see this as negative because then it will distort this image of something, right? So then you kind of make sense of this in relation to what you believe or what you see, right?
In
So
the
for
world.
instance, yeah, so for instance, if you look at your mom and dad, right? You look at your mom and dad and you say to yourself, okay, these two people raised me, right? So these two people raised me and I am a person that can actually engage with other people, right? Then one day you find out that, say, your dad's a serial killer, right? Or he was a murderer, or whatever, right? Then you look at your parents again. And you say to yourself, "Wait, but I come from both these people, right? I came out and people resonate with me and everything's cool. But when I look at my mom, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But now if I look at my dad and he's the complete opposite of my mom, this picture doesn't make sense, right? So then what we tend to do then is say, no, that can't be him. Maybe there was something wrong with this. Maybe there's something that you guys didn't understand, so that that whole picture kind of becomes a collage and fits in, right? Because you don't, in your mind, you don't want to be thinking that way because then you're like, whoa, because as soon as you think that that's true and that's the way that things are, then you look at yourself and you say, well, then maybe I'm not as great as I thought I was. Maybe I'm not as open and as cool as I thought I was. And that is really going to mess up with your identity, right? So then I find again with all these things that we learn and we get taught about with these beliefs is that you read something and then you say to yourself, oh, okay, so this person saved this person and he gave birth to this person. It's like amazing. Like that sounds so beautiful and I'm all for this, right? And then the next line says, yeah, and then he killed someone because this person disobeyed him. Then you say, oh, I can't believe that for sure because these are two, this is a bit too opposites. So the way that I can then see it is then say, maybe these people deserved it. Maybe maybe they should have listened to him. Maybe they should, and then you start making excuses like you would have done again with you looking at your mother and father. You start making, because again, if you look at it as, oh my gosh, it's a murderer, you'll say, oh, but then I can't be reading this. So now you need a reason to read it. You need a reason to believe it. You need a reason to sell it. You need a reason to keep going with your life, right? So again, I find that a lot of people then have a lot of questions pertaining to certain things like that, right? Because again, you read it and then there's something that's kind of blatantly opposite or blatantly negative, but then in your mind, because you've been painted this picture, now this picture is like, it's all fitting and it's a beautiful collage, and then you're like, ooh, if I splash paint on it, then it'll kind of mess it up. So let me just kind of splash a little paint on it and kind of make it part of the picture and blend it in, right? And then kind of makes it a bit better, so, yeah.
I was saying we had this conversation with my friends about how you can reason for anything via the Bible.
Yeah.
Any idea in this universe can be supported by the Bible. Contradicting ideas, you can find a verse that supports this and this one as well.
Yeah.
And so we're just worried about the credibility of the Bible and its real ability to judge life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, man. So, I mean, like again, like I'm saying, I'm just kind of trying to question both sides. I'm trying to question science. I'm trying to question what you're going through, just so that we can kind of get to like a solution and kind of get to, a purpose. Why do we do the things that we do? And again, maybe a lot of people have thoughts on this, So again, like, and it's not just the Bible. That's the thing. It's just any kind of book or religious anything. that kind of gives you an impetus. And religion doesn't have to be something that you read and you follow. It can be a culture. You know, it can be a madlozi. It's not really a religion, you know, by definition, but it can be something like a madlozi, where it's like, look, if you take someone's head and behead them, right, and then take that and it's gonna then save someone else's life, right? And it's like, oh, that's so amazing. It's gonna save someone's life. And then it's like, but did we not just kill someone for that? And then it's like, oh no, let's just focus on this. And you find that then people really do that. People then focus on one thing and then they have heavy neglect about something else. You know, that's literally it. They'll face one way and then it's like, one left. Let's leave that, man. Or maybe focus on this, because then it kind of it tarnishes your identity when you look at everything. And you're like, oh my goodness, like, but how did this and this and this happen? So you find again when you with what you're saying, and I was listening carefully to it. Religion for you and God actually became or was your father. It wasn't really like a, you know, the father. It was a metaphor for that, you know. And kind of the temple or the church and you're praying was kind of you speaking to him, your actual father. So when you left varsity, or when you left home to go to varsity, he was no longer there, and you felt that then you didn't need to really go to church, you know. So when you felt scared to kind of question him, it was a metaphor again. It was like you're questioning religion and you're questioning your belief in him, you know. So I think that's where a lot of people, again, that's why I asked, if you get born into something, you kind of then associate those people as whatever they teach you, or what they teach you to believe in. You
know? Okay.
That's the difficult of what people go through, and whether it's religion, whether it's religion in the sense of, like, you know, the book or any book, or culture, or sexuality. It's something that you grow up, you're a kid, you look at these two people, or you look at this person, you're like, oh my goodness, they're taking care of me, perfect, everything's great, they've never done anything wrong in your life. Until you grow up one day and then you hear, you know what, hey man, your mom, she was quite something else. Then your first thing is to say, oh, no, not my mom. And it's like, oh, wait. This person is telling you how your mom is or how your dad is, right? Why is your first response to defend them? Because they're not saying that to the way that she is to you is not real. But what they're saying is that that person that you also see is also someone else, right? So you find that then people it's difficult for people to see that. It's difficult for people to kind of understand that actually maybe my dad is a killer, you know. And that's the thing. It's like it's such a bad thing, because you're like, oh my goodness, but he wasn't like that to me. He was soft and he was like this and he was like that. And it's like, well, that's how you get serial killers. They're not gonna rock up there and kind of be like, hey, I kill people, you know, or, you know, certain things like that. I'm not saying that everything has to be that negative. But what I'm saying is that the fact when you don't ever see any negative in anything is kind of then a definition of being brainwashed. You know, as soon as you think to yourself, I think that I should walk barefoot outside because my God or my religion made me walk barefoot. It's like, are you not going to question it? No, because I was told not to. It's like, okay, fine, don't do it. You go outside and you burn your feet. Then it's, are you really still not going to question it? No, it's not. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Then you go along life and you go along, if you teach other people that and you teach other people that, and then you ask yourself, well, then what's the definition between what you believe, brainwashing, and a cult? And it's just literally a state of mind. Because you find, again, with everything that comes out now, it's like, oh, you know what, Bushiri's like this. These people make people eat grass. These people make drink Heineken. Oh my goodness, that's so crazy. Let's laugh at that, you know. But hey, you know what? There's this other thing that, you know, when we bend our knees and we murmur all to the same person at the same time, that's cool. It's like, how do you believe that? you know. So you get to a point where you're kind of judging everything that you see as
Mm.
ridiculous, and I can't believe these people are drinking milk. I can't believe these people are getting drunk and telling people that they're doing this, and this person is making arms grow from other people and is, you know, putting people to sleep, you know. And it's like, but you believe that you can be born from a rib? And it's like, yeah, but that's because my parents told me that. You know, and it's like, okay, well then maybe then is that not the issue? Maybe their parents told them the same thing. So how are you able to see their faults and not able to see yours? Which then comes back to almost everything that I've been saying now. But all these videos is like, it's very easy to look at other people's faults and not kind of check at yours, and not
Mm.
look at oneself and kind of rectify everyone else's stuff instead of saying, maybe the fact that I have had 10 boyfriends, maybe I'm the problem, not the boyfriend, you know?
Mm.
So it becomes then a culture. It becomes a way that you live. It becomes a thing of, oh, you know what? I'm changing 15 jobs at a time because, man, these jobs are terrible. You know, I am changing boyfriends and girlfriends at a time because these people are terrible. I can't find the right person. What's wrong with these people? And it's like, maybe it's that culture and that mindset that puts you in these positions whereby then you're always blaming or you're always looking at other people trying to change their world instead of trying to look at the faults that you have and trying to change yours.
Definitely.
So yeah, I know that's it's a bit of a mouthful, but yeah. Again, for me, again, I think there's a lot of good teachings that come on both sides. I think there's a lot of, again, with religion, for example, if you look at it metaphorically as well, there's a lot of good teachings in the sense of like, you know, going to finding a purpose, you know, taking that purpose head on and living with it. You know, it translates into so many books that we read as well,
Mm.
and so many stories. You know, so many stories. Harry Potter, for example. You know, I'm not saying the Bible is a fairy tale or anything, but I'm just saying there's themes in it. You know, like Harry has to conquer himself to get to where he needs to go to, instead of trying to conquer everything else. And
Mm.
everything is a metaphor in that sense. You know, and you find good books are like that. Every single book in Harry Potter, it's like it becomes like that. And every other story that you find, you will find themes like that, where it's find a find a purpose, conquer it, conquer yourself, and then you become a better person. You know, it's like monster stories. It's a similar thing. There is a monster under the bed, right? So what are you gonna do? You're gonna look there or not? If you don't look, then it's gonna challenge you. It's gonna keep being in your mind. But if you look and you know it's there, you actually then braver the
Mm.
next day. You know that, you know what, I looked and I didn't die. So therefore, whatever there is there under my bed, I'll look in it. I'll look there and then I'll conquer it. You know,
Mm.
so it's the same as, then it's a theme of living in the sense of, if there's skeletons in my closet, what am I gonna do? Am I just gonna keep pushing it away, pushing it away, pushing it away? Maybe not. Maybe I should open my closet, see it, and then be shocked, but then realize, you know what, I'm not dead. Let me fix what's going on. You know, and that's a theme for school as well, where you get tons of work and then you say to yourself, I can either watch a series, I can either go get a nap, I can either go out with my boys and my girls, or I can sit down and say, let me see what the issue is and let me try and study. You know, so again, I think the themes in this is very powerful, and there's a certain sense of stability with it, you
Mm.
know. And again, with that, it's like it can get a bit too far, where then you start to rely on it. You start to kind of, you know, push your story onto someone else and push your own beliefs into other people without trying to understand them, and then you
Mm.
can't separate. You know.
Because it's for you to even question your religion, it takes a lot. It's a lot to
Yeah. You have to
and
find it within yourself to be strong enough to do it. Yeah.
yes. And I
Mm.
remember when we were having this conversation with my friends, um, we one of my friends said that you cannot believe just because you are scared of doing the work and
Hmm.
finding
Yeah.
information, looking into yourself, if you really believe
Mm.
in it and just say, no, I'll just believe just because I am scared that I might go to hell, or I am scared that bad things are going to happen to me. You have to conquer that fear and really dig deeper into yourself and find exactly what you believe in, or what your spirituality is supposed to be about, and what resonates with you.
Yeah, and that's the theme of all these stories, like I say as well, is diving deep into the depths of hell. You go inside there and you go and you find yourself. And then once you find yourself, you come back up and you conquer yourself. And that's the fundamental, the teachings. That's why those things are very powerful, because it's a theme of life. You go and you think to yourself, oh man, I'm going from KZN and I'm going to go study in Stellenbosch. I don't even know Afrikaans. I don't even know what I'm going to get there. It's not my type of vibe. It's the city and it's this and it's that. And say, okay, well then you have two choices. You can either sit, it was Natal Guamashu, wherever you are, or go to Stellenbosch and then find a new person and find another part of yourself that you never thought that you'd find. And when you find that when you do the latter, you then find parts of you that you are actually so proud of, and then it grows you out of comfort.
Definitely. And it goes everything, like you just said, careers.
Yeah. You find that the biggest things that you learn in life, you learn through hardships. And there's a reason for that. You learn through not being comfortable. Yeah. So again, it's like the things that you've learned, the strongest things that you've learned is kind of like talking to your father, trying to tell him that, listen, talking to your dad and trying to tell him, listen, man, I don't believe in this, or I'm doubtful of this. And then when you come out of it, you're like, oh, I never thought I could do that, but I'm so proud of myself that I did it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, yeah, you find what you want, but you at least want to look.
You're so good with words. Quoting your face.
Yeah, so that's very true. Again, I think it's that again with varsity, being in varsity myself and having a lot of obviously people that I know that come from varsity and come from college and come from high schools. You never really find yourself until you kind of step away from certain places or certain people. When you have a lot of friends and you have a lot of friendships and things, you kind of blend in with the crowds. You kind of, you kind of then form these activist groups as well, and you kind of form these friendship circles that kind of resonate with who you think life is, or, I think this person is cool, so I'm going to be friends with them, and then be friends with more people, and then I have my drinking buddies, and then I have these buddies, and then you're kind of just a buddy type of person, but then you find that whenever you leave these kind of circles, because you're scared to leave them, that's where you find that actually I'm strongest when I'm alone. And then you start making better decisions, because then it's only going to influence you. But when you make group decisions, it's like, oh, I don't really believe in that part, but I'll do it because I think you guys are cool.
Just not to offend one.
Yeah, and that's again is a church type of a metaphor. Let me go to church and not tell them that I don't believe in God, because I don't know how they will take it. And it's like, okay, well then who are you pleasing? Is it you or is it them?
And that's the most important thing about spirituality, that it's supposed to be about you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what I failed to find in my childhood. It being about me and my relationship person. It was just, we come to church, we pray together, and then we read the Bible, and then the preacher interprets the Bible, and then we just pray. And then, so when I'm alone, and now that I'm far from my family, I'm like, okay, so then now what do I say to God? I haven't been to church in 6 months. What do I say to him? And so if you don't have that relationship with God personally, then it becomes very difficult for you to interact with him.
Yeah. I think also it goes with the fact, sometimes the people always tell you, you need to have a certain relation with this. You need to do that. You need to do that. But You need to find it yourself. And it's like, well, I don't think it's there. And they're like, no, 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 you can't say that it's not there. But you need to, and it's like, bro, is it my choice or is it yours? Like, what's going on here? You know, because you're telling me that I can do anything that I want, and then when I do something that I want, you're like, no, 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 not like that. Not like that. Keep it here. Keep it the way that I want you to do it. You know, and again, that's like a metaphor for life. It's not just a spiritual or a religious type of thing. It's very important that we watch what we say and watch what we do in our actions as well. You know, when we kind of create things and we say things to people, it's like, do we really mean that they need to do it, or do we really mean that they should do it the way that we want them to do it? You know, and that's also very important for kids, because kids don't have any kind of, you know, purpose or anything like that. It's kind of like, well, I'll tell you what I want to do, because, or what you want me to do, because I believe you, and there's no reason for me not to believe you. And then you teach them something, and then that's what they believe their whole life, until one day they grow up and they're like, oh, you know, and then they start to question themselves, and you're like, man, I wasted so many years of not making friendships and not, you know, growing with people because you told me something, or you taught me something that you believe, your bigotry, your prejudices, your wrongdoings, and your beliefs, and you instilled it in me because you thought you were right. You know, and even like this, like I'm talking to you now, and I'm thinking, do you think perhaps this is the way we should do things? I'm not saying to you, look, it's like this, it's like that, do this, do that. Women are crazy, men are trash. It's like, no, I'm not saying that. Even if I say I think it the way that I think it, it's like, if I'm going to tell someone else, like, no, you grow the way that you grow, right? And then you come back and teach me. And then when you've done that, maybe I'll be like, man, actually, my boy's actually pretty, you know, pretty smart, or he's pretty, you know, open. Maybe I should adopt that. You know, but when we keep breeding ourselves and we keep breeding our own bigotry and prejudices, all we have is people that just are mad at each other, or angry at each other, or, you know, are not doing anything positive.
And I think the biggest fear with religion and spirituality is, what am I going to tell my kids about God and spirituality? And that's like the biggest question. So now if I have kids, what do I tell them? They go to school, they have to pray at school to a God. So now they come back to me and I don't believe in that God. What do I tell them?
That's another viewpoint. That's very interesting as well, man. That's very interesting. And again, it's like when you go and you meet other people, and you meet people that are different to you, that's when you kind of wake up and you realize, man, maybe the fact that I thought that you know, this type of person is not, you know, a person that we should ever trust as a type of community. Then you're like, hey, but I like this boy, I like this guy, man, I like the way that he thinks. Why did people ever teach me this? Maybe those people had like a completely different way to look at life, but now you're like, nah, I don't actually think that. And then you go and you look at these people and you're like, I actually like people like this, and I don't like people like that. It's like your friends, you know, you chill with your friends and you're all in one group all the time for like 3-4 years. You leave, you go to varsity, you get there, now you have to be forced to kind of be in the same class as different people. But then the more you get there and the more that you know them, you're like, actually, I'm actually down on
Yeah.
And then they like, oh, but like, yeah, I'll change 11. And it's like, yeah, like I saw things in you that I was actually kind of blinded to, you know. And again, it's a cultural type of religious aspect as well. And like I say, even with culture, it's like we get taught all these things. Imingwabo should be a certain way. And you know, all of these things that we get taught, we grow up in, and we kind of like, okay, let's go, bro. I don't want to question this. Yeah, okay. Because we need to do this. And then Corona hits, and then it's like, no, let's have 4 people at a funeral. Let's have 3 people at a wedding. Then you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Is that possible? Yeah, then we can do it. And then you do it, and you're like, man, you know what? I've been trying to save up for a vehicle. I've been trying to save up to marry someone. I've been trying to save up to have a car or pay off a loan. Now I can do it. You know, and it's like, actually, this whole cultural thing that I never kind of questioned was the problem that I had in the beginning. You know, So, and I'm not saying that obviously sometimes cultural things again make sense metaphorically as well, you know. But the fact that you don't want to ever question anything or want to be wrong is then the fundamental problem that you get when you are not doing things throughout, like within yourself, you know. So yeah, man, there's a lot of things that I'm also one of the reasons that I started this as well was just like, do we want to celebrate a bit closer or not? Because if we do, then we should let the world know. So we'll tell me feel. Yeah. Oh, man, no one can be sifihla and bas wrong. Then it's like, but then maybe because it's wrong, we can then change and then see it right. Yeah, well, so again, I think there's a lot of there's a lot of kind of people that prefer to just be like, no, let's do it the way that we should do it and leave it at that.
Don't look sad. And I feel like it's also because people, I think, especially like the older generation, refuse to understand that the way things are done culturally and even with religion, it's more of circumstantial things. The way things were done, it was very circumstantial. It was not a stamp that this is how things are done. It was circumstantial because in that world that they existed, they had those resources, they thought that way, and this is things were done that way. It wasn't necessarily this is how things are done for them to be right.
Yeah. You see how all these religious themes come about then? Yeah, exactly that, man. That's a very good point. You know, like Mamela, maybe it's easier that amantombazana funeke yahleli endlini so that sizakwazi uhamba siyosebenza because maybe there's a war outside and asifuna sife sonke. So kubhetele kufe umuntu oyi-one nakuba kufe thina sonke. And then now times go by, and then there's no war. You know, it's like, okay, kutheni sihleli endlini as abafazi? Oh, I know. Sifundiswe loo nto uba masihlale endlini. And it's like, you know, and it's like, really, is that the case? Because then what's the reason for it? Subuza. And it's like, that's where the crux of everything happens. It's like even with marriages and things like that, it's like, really, who pays? Who decides this thing? Why is that? Yeah. And it's like, no, Subuza. It's like, but it's important because it changes a lot of things. There's a lot of dynamics that happen. You know, the fact that there's marriage to begin with, there's a lot of dynamics that happen because then it's like, now it's legal. Now it's more of a transaction. Now it's more of a bank transaction. And it's like, if you get divorced, man, you will feel it. Yeah. So it's like, back then, you didn't have those consequences. Yeah. So then is it really something viable now? Oh, no, you know, let's not deal with that. Let's not talk about that. Yeah, and then that creates more and more problems. And then as time goes by, you find that more things get created, and then no one even knows now where this whole thing started. Don't care to find out.
Because we don't want to ask why.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, I think for me it's very important to kind of do something like this. And again, even going through sensitive topics, it's cool. If I'm wrong, correct me, and then I can correct someone else, and then we change, and then tomorrow we talk about something else, and then we're moving on. But if you don't question, it's like, okay, let me just keep doing it. Let me keep being prejudiced towards women. Let me keep being prejudiced towards the LGBTQ community because I'm a gay person before my life, so therefore that's the way it should be. And it's like, really? You want to go that route? Like, do you really want to try that? You know, do you think that's going to work out for you? You know, and through questioning and through getting battered and shattered and shamed, you wake up on the other side and you say, now what? You know?
And you're strong today and you get it with time as you grow. But if you don't question, you will never grow.
Yeah, it's like failing a test, man. Yeah, you get one answer wrong, question, ooh, how, what happened? Let me go and check it out again because I cannot get this wrong again. and then you're not. Then the next time you go, you're like, no, actually, you know what? I'm gonna try and even just pay more attention to this. I might not even get it right again, but I just need to pay a bit more attention. Now I've learned how I got it wrong the first time. Now I'm just going to learn not how to get it wrong that time. And that's much better than just repeating the same cycle the whole time. And that's purpose.
And after having seen the results, because I once had this conversation with my dad about, this is now not on the religious topic, about, raising kids and having sex. About, we have seen our parents had us when they were teenagers, and their parents had them when they were teenagers, and they're telling us as teenagers not to have sex.
Yeah.
So you have seen the results through the generations that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Kids do have sex when they're teens. So, but you're still telling them, don't have sex. Just don't do it. But you did it as well. If you're being honest with yourself as a parent, you did it when you were a teenager. And you know that your parents had told you not to do it, but you did it. But you're still teaching your kids not to have sex as a teenager because it's wrong. But you also didn't listen. You know that doesn't work. You're not doing anything differently. But then you expect different results. So, so it's really, people need to, I think we all need to just sit and observe and ask and reason, and not just follow suit with culture and religion blindly.
Yeah, you need to stop being reactive and actually sometimes just sit back and watch and kind of observe things and see how things are happening. I actually have there was another live that I did the other time about things like that, about differences between men and women growing up and things like that. So it's interesting that you said that as well. But times have changed, man. Things are changing, and it's not the same that it was, But I think again, cultures and religions kind of, want to always be part of the new generation and the new times and the new this and trying to be relevant type of thing. And it's like, no, bro. There's a lot of things that don't pertain to this, and things have changed. And maybe the 10 Commandments that you had back then, for example, is not as important as things that are happening now, So, that doesn't really help us. That doesn't really help things, So, but then to harbor those literal meanings into life now, it's almost like the advances of medicine. It's like back then you take a woodpecker and you kind of, let it bite at a wound, or let it peck at a wound. It's like 2020 now. There's a bit more, there's a plaster at least. But so again, it's like advance of the times, let things go and be able to say when you're wrong. And again, like I'm saying, with going back to religion, it's like the themes are there. You can look at it in the themes sense, But when you look at it in a very literal way, it's like you also got to kind of think and say, maybe it's not like that. Yeah. So maybe someone will come through and bash us and let us know about their thoughts, and it's like, cool, come through and then we'll talk about it, and then man. So thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. It was nice.
Thank you.
I know you got into your rhythm. So now I'm happy. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers, man. See you.
Yes.